Hi friends, how are you? I'm Nicole, and this is Crimes with Cole. So, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you guys doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you have had a wonderful week, are ready for the weekend, and another crazy crime story. In today's case, we will be talking about a young girl who had to endure such a horrific crime, and yet the crime wasn't even the worst part. Today, we will be talking about the case of Sarah Maynard. On November 10th, 2010, 32-year-old Tina Herman, who is Sarah's mother, did not show up for work. She worked at the local Dairy Queen, and this was very unlike Tina. Tina was a very dedicated employee, so when she didn't show up for work, it started to concern her manager, Valerie. Valerie called Tina, and there was no response. She texted Tina, there was no response. So she decided to take it upon herself to drive past Tina's house just to make sure everything was okay. When Valerie got to Tina's house, she saw that Tina's car was in the driveway with another car that she was not familiar with. The lights in the house were on, so Valerie got out of the car, went up to the front door, and knocked. But there was no answer. She peeped in the window and saw that Tina had left her coat hanging up, so she went back and got into her car and decided to call the police. Something just didn't feel right. The police had ended up sending 2 officers at 2 different times to go out to Tina's house to check on her. Both times, there was no response. So the next day, one of the officers had called East Knox Schools to find out if Tina's 2 children, 13-year-old Sarah Maynard and 10-year-old Cody Maynard, had been at school. The children were there Wednesday, but they had not shown up Thursday for school. Shortly thereafter, a man by the name of Ron Metcraft had contacted the police as well because his girlfriend Stephanie had been missing. Stephanie was Tina's best friend, and the last Ron spoke to Stephanie, she had been with Tina, which was on Wednesday around 12:45 p.m. That next day, Thursday, around 4 p.m., Tina's boss Valerie decided she was going to drive back to Tina's house, and when she got there, saw that Tina's car was gone. But that unknown vehicle that was in the driveway that she originally saw had belonged to her best friend, Stephanie. Valerie went up to the door and knocked again to see if there was an answer, but there was no answer. So she decided that she was going to take matters into her own hands and snoop around the house. She discovered that the window on the back porch was unlocked, so she opened it and crawled inside. And when she did, she discovered blood everywhere. In the bathroom, like all over the carpet and just all over the walls, like throughout the entire house. When police arrived, they now had 4 people missing and the dog, a miniature pinscher named Tanner. They entered the house and what they found was blood on the floor, but it looked like somebody had almost dragged something heavy that was either like leaking blood out of it or was covered in blood. But there were huge drag marks of blood leading to the bathroom. They also found blood at the top of the stairs, like heading into the basement and in the basement itself. They had brought in Tina's live-in boyfriend, Gregory, to question him first, and Gregory had admitted that him and Tina did split up, but he was still living in the house. I think they had just split up and they hadn't really found arrangements for him to live elsewhere. Usually, Gregory didn't work on Wednesdays. However, this particular Wednesday, he decided to pick up a shift. So he worked about an hour, hour and a half away at the Target distribution center. And his shift was from 6 a.m. till 4 p.m. And he decided that he was going to stay at a friend's house after work that night because, they had plans to go golfing the next morning. And his story had checked out. His mother did call him that next day on Thursday around noon to let him know that Tina was missing. And instead of coming back home to help look for her, he had just assumed Tina took off work that day and just went and, did whatever she wanted to do. He didn't really think much of it and just kind of continued to golf with his buddy. And, his story did seem like somewhat suspicious, but, it did end up checking out. I think it was until after Gregory got home, like back to the home that he shared with Tina, I don't think it really registered that there was an investigation going on and, that something terrible had happened. Gregory's family actually ended up coming over to the house and cleaning it so that Gregory did not have to see just, all the blood and the drag marks and, oh God, just the entire house. I mean, there was blood splattered everywhere. The investigator did find a Walmart bag at Tina's house, and inside this Walmart bag was 2 tarps and a box of heavy-duty trash bags and the receipt. So they had figured out which Walmart this was, went to that Walmart and got the surveillance footage. And what this footage revealed was that there was a man who had bought heavy-duty trash bags, tarps, a turkey sandwich, and a t-shirt. The store was able to pull his receipt from their own files, and that receipt matched up to the receipt that was found at Tina's. They also were able to discover that this man had left the Walmart in a silver Toyota Yaris. After doing the research, they discovered that this silver Toyota Yaris belonged to a 31-year-old man by the name of Matthew J. Hoffman. Matthew's address was 10 miles from Tina's house, but Matthew's mother's address was 0.4 miles from Tina's house. After they discovered that Matthew had a few domestic violence charges against him, they showed up at his house 3 days after the disappearance with search warrants and the SWAT team. And after they entered his home, they were taken back by what they had discovered inside Matthew's home. They first discovered Matthew laying on the couch sleeping. They quickly had arrested him, removed him from the home, and took him down to the police station. And as they were walking through Matthew's home, they noticed there were leaves everywhere. I mean, in one room, there was just like a huge pile of leaves. Like he had just taken bags of leaves from outside in the yard and just dumped them on the floor. And at first, police thought, oh, he's hiding something under all of these leaves. And then they didn't find anything. They were just like leaves piled up on the floor. Like, I mean, inside the bathroom, he had taken leaves and put them inside plastic like Walmart or Kroger or Meijer or, Target bags, the plastic bags. And he had stapled them to the wall. They found 2 dead squirrels in the freezer. And when they had entered into the basement, they saw this cabinet that was blocking the doorway. So they had moved it. And when they did, they discovered Sarah lying on a sleeping bag on top of a pile of leaves with her hands and her feet tied up, along with a makeshift diaper made out of plastic bags. As police officers had went to remove Sarah, they noticed that she was very confused and thought that maybe like she was in shock just from what she had gone through, but they did not find any signs of Tina, Cody, or Stephanie anywhere in the home. Sarah was taken to Knox Community Hospital where she was thoroughly examined, and despite what she had been through, she had given them an extremely detailed outline of what had happened. She said that her and her brother had returned from school on Wednesday, and they were attacked by Matthew as soon as they entered into the home. She ran into the bedroom, but Matthew had grabbed her and carried her back into the basement where he had found some rope and used that to tie her up and left her lying on the kitchen floor. She then was put into Stephanie's Jeep on top of what she later discovered was her mother, her brother, and Stephanie's bodies, and drove to some parking lot where he had her covered up with blankets and just left her there in the car. He then got a different car, came back to the parking lot, put Sarah in that car, and took Sarah back to his house. Sarah said that she believed that Matthew had killed her brother, her mother, Stephanie, and their dog. Sarah was released into her father's custody after she was medically cleared, and Matthew was placed under 24-hour watch after threatening to harm himself. Eventually, he was brought to speak with an investigator about what had happened, and for 4 long hours, Matthew did not speak a word. There was a moment where he had taken his hands and brought them up to his chest and pounded on his chest, right? With a fist, almost like he was trying to tell them that his heart hurt after doing what he had done. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean, but it was almost like he was trying to do some sort of sign language. As the questions continued, Matthew painted himself as the victim. He had found Sarah in his home and, he found her all tied up and was trying to take care of her, that he had found these body parts that were all chopped up and didn't know what to do. And he really just wanted to paint himself as the victim. Matthew suffered from abandonment issues due to his father leaving him when he was a child. And they think that's why he has this obsession with leaves, is because his father was a firefighter, or, because he was a tree trimmer or something. But they claim that Matthew had some sort of control issues. So during the questioning, they were trying to get him to press for an attorney because, when you're in that situation, your attorney comes along and pretty much kind of runs your side of the court at that point, kind of tells you what to do, when to do it. And they knew that would trigger Matthew, right? Somebody coming in and controlling the situation, and hopefully get him to get more details about Stephanie, Tina, and the little boy. But after days of questioning, Matthew did end up confessing what he had done. He said that he had actually been stalking out Tina's house the night before, and his plan was just to break into her home. So after she had left Wednesday, her and Stephanie had left, he snuck into the house through the garage. When they returned and caught him in the act, he just completely panicked and freaked out and ended up attacking them. After he had taken their lives and seen what he had done, he ended up taking the dog's life because the dog would not stop barking. And at this point, Cody and Sarah had came home from school, so he had attacked Sarah, tied her up, laid her on the kitchen floor, and then went and attacked Cody and dragged him to the bathroom. And Sarah said she could hear the water running in the bathroom and the toilet flushing, so she had a pretty good indication that Matthew had taken Cody's life. He swears up and down that he did not enter that house with the intention to take their lives. After realizing everything that had just happened at this point, he was going to go get gas cans and burn down Tina's house, except he had gotten stopped by an officer on his way to go get gas cans. So eventually, the officer let him go and just ruined his whole plan of burning the house down. So he chose not to. He went to that parking lot where he had left Sarah. He got her, went back to his house. He had a fire that night where he had ended up burning his clothes and shoes and, drank a bottle of wine. And he ended up telling officers the exact location where he had left Cody, Tina, and Stephanie into the woods and fields. And like there was this place inside of like a hollow tree that's like that is where their bodies were. They were stuck inside of this hollow tree in the middle of like a field or like woods or, you know, a lot of trees. Matthew had actually worked as a tree trimmer and actually like hollowed out this tree himself. Matthew took a plea deal and ended up getting life without the possibility of parole. He pled guilty to 3 aggravated murder charges, burglary, assault, kidnapping, tampering with evidence, animal cruelty, and abuse of a corpse. As for Sarah, she was released to her father, Larry, but Larry and Sarah's stepmother had become extremely abusive towards her after her return home. She simply said she couldn't take it anymore, and both of them were served with protection papers and no contact orders with Sarah. Sarah actually ended up writing a book about her case and started a victim advocacy fund with her grandma, and she also adopted Elsa, one of the police dogs who had participated in her search. She was provided a grant by Dr. Phil and the University of Florida and plans to study pediatrics. Like, how crazy is that? That manager, like, had she have not been so persistent on finding out where Tina was, you know, Sarah may have never been found or not found in time. It's sad. It's really, really sad. And God bless her. I'm glad that she's able to find the positive in life and that she's able to continue on and share her story, and hopefully others learn from it. But that is all I have for today. You will have to let me know what you guys think. And until next time, please remember to be safe, and I will see you then. Bye.